Hello, Mr. Raven. So, making a video here. Notice my picture is not actually in it. Instead, I got yours. Um, and, oh, I don't got it queued up to the right point here. Let's go back to about there. That's a little bit farther back than I need to be, but close enough. Anyways, so, I'm using a screen capture software. It is unlocked when you buy the full version of YouCam. YouCam is made by a company called Cyberlink. Um, the full version, or the trial version is free. The full version costs $20. And you get a whole bunch of cool webcam stuff with it. But you also get this part right here, screen capture. And so that's how I'm recording to you and showing your picture. Anyways, um, this is your video. Why is the natural world not evidence of a creator? Now that's actually a question. And so I'm going to answer it for you. And I'm going to play the important part of your video here.
That's not man-made and that's not made by creatures is not made. How can you conclude that? It's so clear and so obvious and so reasonable and so logical and so sensible to conclude that the thing made, the thing that exists, is evidence of a maker. How?
The thing that exists is evidence of a maker. Now, I'm not trying to selectively edit and cut around all this other stuff. I just came to this for this one point here. Your idea that things that exist are evidence that they were made, that existence equals made by a maker. This can be expressed as a simple premise. That which exists was made. And the neat thing about premises is we can plug them in with other premises and come to logical conclusions and test premises as such. So, that which exists was made. The Mona Lisa exists, therefore it was made. See that? There's two premises and a conclusion. Now we can plug in the second premise and plug in a different one and keep testing this first one up. You believe your God exists. That which exists was made. Your God exists. Therefore it was made. Do you agree with that? If you agree with that, then you're the first Christian I've ever heard agree to that. But not only that, but if agreeing to that would set up what's called an infinite regression, because then your God's maker would then necessarily exist, and then that would mean that your God's maker would also need a maker, and that would go on ad infinitum. Anyways, so I'm going to guess you're going to say, yeah, that's not true. Your God wasn't made. So, if the premise, if the reasoning is sound, in other words, that the conclusion follows from premise 1 on premise 2 in general, but we end up with a bad conclusion. The only way we can get a bad conclusion, if the logic is sound, which it is in this case, is if we have a bad premise. So, is it that your God doesn't exist? I'm guessing you're going to say no here. Well then, we're left with another premise, and that is everything that is made has a maker. Or everything that exists was made and has a maker. That first premise there, that's must be the problem one, because you're going to assert that your God exists. So, why is the natural world not evidence of a creator? Because it does not necessarily follow that that which exists was made. It's that simple. Here's another way to look at it. Well, here's another reason. If everything is made, everything designed. How does that look different than if this world, as we see it right now, is a product of natural forces and time? What would look different? Now you might suggest, well, there's not enough time for evolution, but we're here right now. If you can't understand why there's a, what would be the difference to be able to test for the difference, how are you going to be able to find the difference? Here's an easier way to put it. You mentioned inanimate objects here. You mentioned about rocks in your video, that they were designed. Okay, I got a rock in my hand and one in my other hand. One was designed. The other one, through the act of natural processes, turned out to be a rock. It was cracked off of a larger one, and molded by natural forces, water and tumbling and abrasion and stuff like this. Which rock is which? Which rock's the designed rock? Because these two rocks, they look basically exactly the same. I mean, there's no tool marks on either one of them, and they're just rocks. If you can't figure out a way to tell design from non-design, how can you assess that everything is designed? How could one assess that it's not all just natural? This is again why your argument fails, is because the natural world looks like this. If this is the natural world, then this is what it looks like. If God exists and this is, all His design, this is what the world looks like. So there's no control group in this mental experiment of yours. There's no undesigned to test against. And this is why your argument fails. It fails because your premise, your main argument is wrong, and it fails again because the designed world looks indistinguishable from the undesigned world. So that is why the natural world is not evidence of a creator. The sunset, you like to mention this when you talk to me in these other ones. You told me, if the sunset isn't evidence for God, I won't find evidence for God. I know how the sunset works. It's light refracting through our atmosphere at a low angle, and it's catching dust and a lot more stuff in the atmosphere because it's passing through more of it, and it's a nice sight. I like the sight of it, but to say that God designed it, that looks no different than the one I see where there is no design. It's just as beautiful. It's the same sunset, the same sunrise. Why do you suggest it's designed? Because it's beautiful to your eyes? I mean, come on now. I mean, your idea of evidence here is just poor. And that is why you're kind of failing at this. But hey, this is getting a little long, so I'm going to stop it right about now.